Hello. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump winning the primary election in New Hampshire and in Iowa caucuses. And we're also going to be talking about why I believe that Nikki Haley should get out of the race immediately because she's only making things worse for the GOP and making it more difficult for Donald Trump to really concentrate on defeating Joe Biden in the 2024 election. Right here at the Sweet Lou Special.
And welcome to the Sweet Lou Special.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. So, what I wanted to talk about was Donald Trump won the primary election in 2 states so far. We're early into the primary, early into the 2024 election. It's only the 26th of January right now. So far in the Iowa caucuses, Trump had just came in and swept house. From what I've seen, I think only Ronald Reagan in the 1980 primary election in Iowa caucuses had just a slightly higher number. Donald Trump had like 52%, I believe, in Iowa caucuses. And Ronald Reagan had like 53.3. So it was pretty tied. Granted that, Donald Trump is being treated as an incumbent president here in this primary election. And Ronald Reagan was not, but the 1980 presidential election was just a sweep for Ronald Reagan and even more of a sweep in 1984. But these are good numbers, obviously, for Donald Trump and his race for becoming the 47th president of the United States. If we get there, hopefully he does. Anyone that knows me, I'm really rooting for Donald Trump here. But one thing that has been bothering me about who is still in the race is obviously, the white elephant in the room is Nikki Haley. I have no understanding why, or don't know for whatever reason she wants to stay in the race at this point, because there is, like, Ron DeSantis has already dropped out, and he said, and he's admitted that, hey, there is no visible path to victory here at this point, which he gets it, so why don't we just consolidate the support for one candidate here in this race to defeat Joe Biden? Nikki Haley, for whatever it's worth, she has some vendetta, something that is, she wants to keep going. And in my opinion, she needs to get out of the race, okay? One very big red flag for me in this New Hampshire poll and this New Hampshire primary election was that there were many Democrats that just voted for her strictly out of spite to get Donald Trump off of the primary election, to get him out of the general election, I should say. And I have a video here that I scroll through on Facebook, and whoever took the video or recorded this, had two men that were talking about, like, yeah, they openly admit that they voted for Nikki Haley because they hate Donald Trump, and when it comes to the general election, they will vote for Joe Biden. So New Hampshire apparently is one of those weird states where you don't just vote for the party that you're registered for, but like you can go back and forth from Democrats. So Democrats can vote for the GOP candidate, and GOP voters can vote for the Democrat candidate in the primary elections, which is, I did not know that until this year. I never really paid attention to it last time because in 2020, obviously there was no one contesting. And anyway, so that just goes to show you that right there, the Democrats hate him so much that, they're willing to vote for Nikki Haley, but, they won't vote for a Republican come in the general election. So get out, Nikki Haley. You're making things worse. Just why don't we just consolidate the party here and, get the vote to Donald Trump so that he can just concentrate on just slamming Joe Biden and ensuring that he does not become a two-term president. The Democrats worked hard to make sure that Donald Trump was not going to be a two-term president, but as all available polling right now is that if there was a general election, which is 538 polling that I read the other day, if there was a general election today, Donald Trump would be defeating Joe Biden. He's up by like 2, 3, upwards of like 4% in some polls, nationwide, depending on the day. So early polling has shown that, Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis would just blow out Biden. But as we see here right now, all these indictments and all this putting Donald Trump into the courtroom and really making a spectacle is not working out in the Democrats' favor, because the middle, the independents, the big chunk of voters in the United States that are not either left or right, GOP or Democrat, but like right in the middle, they see how well, or how bad, the economy is. I mean, he's got a lot of, the military is not looking great. You have problems with the border that is just not getting better, that he can just change right now, that he just refuses not to. That is Joe Biden I'm talking about. And everything is just not working out in Biden's favor. He's got terrible numbers. Approval numbers are in the 30s, low 30s, mid 30s. I don't even think Donald Trump was that low. Maybe high 30s, low 40s for sure on his approval rate during his first term, and especially in the 2020 election. But one thing I did want to point out was that in 2016 and in 2020, none of the national polls were favoring Donald Trump at all. And that's why, like, everyone was just surprised Donald Trump won in 2016, because all available polling was showing that Hillary Clinton was just going to blow him out. And so there was a huge margin of error of, like, how did the polling get it wrong? And so, we all went into 2020 thinking the same thing was going to happen again, that all the available polling was just going to be highly favoring the Democrats. And so, like, that margin of error, if it was going to be like 1 to 2%, really should probably be like a 4 to 5. You get what I'm saying. But right now in the polling, it shows Donald Trump consistently in various polls 2, 3, 4%, like I said. So this could end up being a blowout against the Democrats. Now, I've heard commentators saying that there's no president that's ever been reelected if they had approval numbers that low. This is like the next Jimmy Carter era. We'll see. But what we need to do is that we just need to stop this charade, stop this name calling, stop this, because we all know how Donald Trump is. He's not going to bow down, and he'll speak his mind about Nikki Haley or whatever, and dog her on anything that he can to make himself look better and to get himself ahead in this race, which I don't blame him, and that's what makes him attractive to a lot of Americans, that take no crap attitude that he has, and especially one type of attitude that, he doesn't want to quit. And a lot of Americans kind of, resonate with that, and I feel it. Okay, I understand. Why not? But Nikki Haley, get out of the race. Okay, let's consolidate the vote to Donald Trump, so that we can spend time going after Joe Biden and his terrible presidency, and how we can make sure that this man gets in as the 47th president. Now, to go back, I wanted to show you guys a quick clip about, like, how these Democrats were questioned about who they voted for in the GOP primary here in New Hampshire. I'm going to show this quick clip video right here.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a women's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination.
All right. So, as you see, there's a lot of work trying to go after Donald Trump. And to me, it's so funny that even a big number of Democrats are willing to vote for Nikki Haley. That should be a big red flag right away, to not vote for her. I mean, to me, she never really resonated to me that much when she got into the race. Granted, she was the UN ambassador under Donald Trump. I'm sure Donald Trump had put a lot of people in positions that he fired. We've seen it. People get fired in his administration quite often. That's just the type of person he is. And it's not a bad thing in my opinion. But with Nikki Haley, I always got that impression that, she's like that her crap don't stink and that she's better than you. And I think with much like how Tulsi Gabbard really got Kamala Harris's approval numbers tanked in the primaries or in the 2020 election when they were competing for that, when called out Kamala Harris for basically enslaving, prisoners for doing, putting out California wildfires for like pennies on the dollar. I think Vivek Ramaswamy really brought on the spotlight on the Nikki Haley for a lot of GOP voters. And especially with her being on the board of Boeing and, being part of the military industrial complex, I think that really resonated, with a lot of potential voters and a lot of voters on the right to really kind of want to step away. Now, if she pulled out these big numbers with, 43.2% right here from the New Hampshire primary, but like only in the tens in Iowa, but she got 43.2 when it came to like a lot of Democrats voting for her. Again, I don't know how South Carolina does theirs, if they do it the same way as in New Hampshire. I kind of have my doubts that they do, but all available data so far right now in early polling says that Donald Trump is just going to sweep, and it's too bad that she didn't want to get out before that, because if she loses, or I should say when she loses South Carolina, it's going to be really embarrassing, because even the governor right now of South Carolina is not endorsing Nikki Haley, but there's a big, strong movement for Donald Trump in that state. So save yourself the time, save yourself the embarrassment. But she, glutton for punishment, I guess, and I got to give her credit for that, for not wanting to give up and not quit. I don't know like what her motive is for that. Maybe to get some kind of cabinet position, maybe to continue some level of a political career, on the federal level, by sticking into this and showing that, as a woman in the GOP, that she'll even go toe to toe and exchange blows with Donald Trump on the stage. But hey, we need to put pride aside at this point, really take a step back, and let's just consolidate the party. Okay. But like I said, I'll give that to her. I'll commend her for, for that kind of attitude, because, it is, the kind of attitude that we need. So, here in our government and our elected officials. So that's going to conclude my episode here of the Sweet Lou Special. I want to thank you guys for coming in while listening to me and watching what I have to say, share my opinion here on the primary elections so far. I got plenty more to say, as time goes by, when we go state to state. And thank you guys. And if you haven't already, give us a like and a follow at the Belfry Signal on Facebook and X, and you can find the Sweet Lou Special, the show here, obviously on any platform of the Belfry Signal, but you can find the Sweet Lou Special on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you guys for coming out.
And welcome to the Sweet Lou Special.